This is just a little aside about indenting lines in code. Indenting is like the space that you use at the beginning of a paragraph or something. You'll see more what I mean if you're unsure about the word indenting. Um, but it means how much you space things over. In a language like C, indention is really for the human programmer to read. The language should not care about the indenting of things, but it is a very good programming practice to make sure that your indentions are correct, because then it just shows you errors in your own thinking or coding so much more easily. It's such an important concept that in languages like Python, if you indent incorrectly, you actually get an error because the computer programming language is relying upon indentions to tell it which code to execute when. So this became an issue. I noticed this was an issue because in this homework with the RGB thing, this is my highly edited one, you were supposed to take this whole loop function. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm just going to cut the whole loop function out. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to copy this whole loop function and make sure you include all the squirrely brackets. Okay. And then let me go over here and I'm going to paste it in here. Now let's test this and see. This should work. Let's test it and see when I hit upload and run. Okay, success. And it is operating correctly. But when you look at this, it's very confusing as to what is going on here. What good programming practice would be in just about any computer language is that things are indented. So what C reads this as is it reads the brackets, much like when you have things in parentheses and you're trying to decide which math to do first. If you have 3 times parentheses 2 plus 5, you need to add the 2 plus 5 first and then multiply that times 3. So the parentheses, the curly brackets, just like parentheses in math, tell the computer which to do when. It's hard for us to see as programmers what it's supposed to do. So a lot of IDEs have this thing. If I back up one space and I hit enter, it puts this on the properly indented space. Now this for loop is supposed to happen inside the curly brackets for this for loop. So if I back it up and then I hit return, it indents it under that. Okay, so that makes it easier for me to see. I'll do this for loop is supposed to happen inside the curly brackets for this one. And notice that the closing curly brackets can be really far away from the opening curly brackets. That's why indenting is so important. So we back that up and hit enter, and now I can see, oh, this for loop is inside of this for loop is inside of this for loop. That's what those indentions are supposed to mean. When I back this up, this command is going to take place inside this curly bracket, so it's indented like that. Now this one has exactly the same indentation as the one above it because it's inside the same curly bracket. So it says, I'm going to run these in order. They're not one inside the other curly bracket. There's no curly brackets involved. And then you still want to do it for your ending curly brackets because look what that gives us. So that gives us this for loop begins here, and then what I can do is I can look down and see where it ends. And I can see this for loop here, and I can look down and see where it ends. Do you see how that shows you? Okay, so that's indenting in C. Remember, in some languages like Python, you will get, if you don't indent with the proper spaces, you will get an error. The program doesn't know what to execute when. So, things to know. It's good practice for any programming language you're in, though. Try to always keep your indentions correct. All right, talk to you later.